There was a farmer, his name was Donald, and he had decided that he wanted to plow one of the fields in his farm that had never been disturbed before, because in the very middle of it lie a broch, or a hillock, if you like. And it is said in the highlands that these are the dwelling places of the fairies. So he gathers his men and puts them to work. "Do you think it's wise, sir?" asks one of the men when Donald told him the broch must be levelled. "They say those are the dwelling places of the fairies, and the men who disturb them will live to regret it." Donald brushed these concerns off and told the men to get to work. And so the stones started to fall from the very first time, in longer than anyone could remember. The next day, while the men were laboring and many stones lie scattered on the ground, one of the milkmaids came running. "Sir, sir," she was screaming, "the cows are deadly sick. You must come and see them." At that, the men stopped their work and, terrified, looked into each other's eyes. "It's true, the fairies have been disturbed, and now they're cursing us." But Donald was too worried to reply. He hurried to the cowshed only to find one of his prized cows lying dead on the floor, and the others, those who still had strength left to make noise, were bellowing with pain. So he asked his wife for advice, and she told him that she believed the fairies had cursed them. "The cows have the plague. What proof do you need?" But still Donald wouldn't be convinced, and so the next day he ordered the men back at work. His wife was working in the kitchen when she heard a knock on the door. She went to open, and there on the entrance stood a fairy woman, not more than 2 feet tall. So, come in," invited the wife, but the fairy woman answered with scorn. "I will stay where I am," she said. "You tell your husband that if he doesn't stop his wicked work, he will pay for disturbing me and mine." With that, she vanished. The wife told Donald what she had seen, but he didn't believe her and resolved to continue with his work. It was night. Donald was coming back home from a day's work when, in the darkness, the fairy woman appeared in front of him, and she cursed him. "You didn't stop your wicked work, and yet you were warned. More of your cows will die tonight because of this, and more will keep on dying until you stop." She vanished, leaving Donald terrified and finally convinced that the fairies were real. And when he got to the cowshed, Donald was saddened and worried to find that more cows had indeed died. The next day, he ordered the men to build the broch back and not to stop until the last stone was put in place. But it was too late. The plague didn't stop. It had spread to the neighboring farms. What to do? Everyone was at a loss. But Donald's wife, who was a woman of wisdom, knew that the cure was to light the need fire. So messengers were sent throughout the whole district to extinguish every fire and to let the hearths grow cold. After that, everyone in the district, every person, every elderly, every child, men and women, traveled to Donald's farm. And in front of every one of their people, Donald's wife crossed the river and went on a tiny island in the middle of it, carrying with her but 2 sticks of wood. There, surrounded by water, she set to light a fire, and she rubbed and rubbed and rubbed and rubbed the 2 sticks together until finally she got a light. The light was fed to wooden torches to every family in the district. They then went home, and with that very need fire, set their hearts alight again. The very next day, the cattle was showing signs of recovery, and never the plague was seen in that land, and never was Donald heard to say that he didn't believe in fairies again.